just check some things and then we will start the stream. Alright, so welcome everybody to today's stream. I am hoping you're having a wonderful afternoon / night wherever you are. The NASCAR Cup Series race at Kansas has just concluded recently, about maybe an hour ago or so, and Ross Chastain pulled off, technically I'd say an upset, where he ends up winning today's race, spoils the playoffs again. Third time now out of 4 races where a non-playoff driver has ended up winning. So I think it's pretty cool that we're having some of the non-playoff drivers still being competitive. It shows you how different NASCAR is to other sports, where even in the playoff season, where these guys that didn't make it can still perform at their very best, and they can work towards having better finishes altogether. So Chastain, this team was nowhere near as good as they were today during the entire season. I felt like the number one team, they were severely off. I didn't see the same speed that I saw in 2022 and 2023 out of that team. It just felt like as a whole, Trackhouse wasn't doing as well, and I was so happy to see that they figured something out today. He started in 20th today, which is even crazier considering that he ended up winning. But there's so many things to talk about here. But we're going to start with the Chastain on how he won. He ended up winning on a late race restart around, I want to say, 20-ish laps ago. I don't know exactly how many laps ago there were when that caution came out, but it all began when Kyle Busch in the number 8, he was in the lead, Chastain was in second, and Busch tried to go by the number 14 of Chase Briscoe, who is a playoff driver. This was around, I want to say, 31 laps ago. And instead, Kyle Busch went to the top side. Briscoe ran near the top, and Busch got loose because of it and ended up spinning out from the lead, which gave Chastain ultimately the lead and would later go on to win. I think Busch had the best car of everyone in the field today, especially during that later run. I feel like he had the best car. If he was able to get by that 14, who knows what would have happened. I think he would have gone on to win, but I think Busch ended up 19th. Yeah, a real shame for that team. They were running so well in the late portion of the race. I have a feeling they would have gone to victory lane today if it wasn't for him getting loose and spinning out. But I've seen some controversy because of this, especially on Twitter, Reddit, stuff like that. People are blaming Briscoe on this, saying that he should have gave him room and that it was a really messed up and dirty move that he did, staying up that high, which ended up making Busch loose and resulting in him spinning out. Now, personally, I don't think that Briscoe has to move out of the way. I'm pretty sure he was on the lead lap and that he would have gone a lap down if he didn't move out of the way. So, and remember, Briscoe is trying to fight for a chance at the championship. I get that Busch is trying to win the race, but Briscoe, you have to think about the big picture here. Briscoe's trying to get into that championship 4. He has to improve. He can't let it go a lap down in case a caution were to come out. So, yes, I do think that Briscoe could have moved down, but did he have to? I don't think so. I get that it's a nice thing to get out of the leader's way, especially late into the race, but you gotta think big picture here. If you don't think big picture, then what are you really doing? I think it was more of a racing incident at that point, where I think Briscoe should have maybe gave him a little bit more room, but he shouldn't have to just pull over and let the 8 go by, because if a caution were to come out, then he could be possibly trapped a lap down, which can make or break a season at that point. He ended up finishing 24th, which I don't think really helped him at all, but this is a really bizarre situation. I thought Busch was going to take out the number 8. Busch was going to take out Chastain when he got loose, and when he hit the wall and got loose, I really thought he was going to end up hitting Chastain, which then Martin Truex Jr. would have been in the catbird seat, but caution ends up coming out anyways. Busch is Busch drops back basically to around 7th place after pit stops. Chastain loses a spot to hit Truex in the pit road. And then there's another caution for Carson Hocevar. And then on the next restart, Chastain's able to get by Truex, and from there he was just able to set sail. Byron finished second, almost 4 tenths behind him. He was starting to gain on those in the final couple of laps. He started to gain on the number 1 of Chastain, but I don't think he would have gotten there, honestly. I feel like he was still too far behind to make any ground up. But some other notable ones, Truex third. That team really needed that, honestly, after everything that they've gone through this entire past couple of races. Bad luck, bad finishes in general. Blaney fourth. That's a very solid points day for him. Gibbs fifth. Bowman sixth. That team was very impressive today, honestly. He was up front the entire day, running top 5. That is exactly the Alex Bowman that I want to see. The one that can run up front and contend every single week. It's going to prove the haters. I honestly thought, personally, earlier in the season, I thought that Alex Bowman didn't really deserve to be at Hendrick, but he is proving everyone wrong with this playoff run, and I'm glad that he's proving everyone wrong, myself included. This is the kind of run that this team needs to silence all the doubters, and it's going great so far. Talladega's next week. Anything could honestly happen, but we'll wait and see on that. Christopher Bell 7th, a very solid day. He led over 122 laps, which is crazy. But ultimately, his car fell off very, very badly at the end. I think at the beginning of I don't exactly remember when, but his car, I think he hit the wall when he was running second, and it ended up just destroying all of his track position. I think that was at the end of stage 2, but just really didn't recover from that. Hamlin in 8th, solid day in the FedEx car. Thankfully, Hamlin, he has been having some bad luck. He needs to start gaining those positions. He needs to start racking up those good finishes again. Chase Elliott 9th after starting dead last. That is very, very impressive. And how about Zane Smith in 10th? That's a huge finish for that team, honestly. Pretty solid finish for that 71 team. He's been proving so much this year. It's absolutely crazy to see, and I hope he's on the roster next year, because he honestly is proving a case to being inside the Cup Series, and he doesn't have a ride next year. I heard that front row is the favorite for him next year, where he's going to end up. So I kind of hope that's the case, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Buescher 11th, Dillon 12th, Suarez, a solid finish for Suarez in 13th, Logano 14th, Corey LaJoie. How about Corey LaJoie? First week with Rick Ware Racing, a 15th place finish. That's exactly what that team needs. Honestly, shocks me that he was basically not mentioned once this entire race, and he still ends up in the top 15. Relatively clean day. I don't think I saw or heard his name anywhere. Justin Haley, on the other hand, yeah, he definitely had some issues today. We'll talk about that. Priest 16th, Wallace 17th. Bubba, I do not know what was going on with the 2311 teams, especially Bubba, but his car was just nowhere near the front like it's used to being. It was the strangest thing. Those cars were extremely slow today when they should have been relatively up in the top 5, top 10 all day. Gregson 18th, Kyle Busch, gotta hate it for that. Gotta hate it for him because he was in the lead. He had that, I think he had the race practically in the palm of his hand, and he ended up losing it. Hemrick in 20th, Ty Dillon 21st, Brad Keselowski 22nd, Harrison Burton, the GOAT, in 23rd, Chase Briscoe 24th, Reddick, 25th. This team was running up front in the early portion of the race, and it just fell apart. Kyle Larson 26th, he ended up hitting the wall in the first stage, blew a tire, went a lap down, never recovered from that. Todd Gilliland in 27th, Stenhouse in 28th, Michael McDowell in 29th. I was expecting, honestly, him to have a better run than that, but don't know exactly what happened, but I kind of wish he was running up front a little bit more than he usually. I think he usually is supposed to be running top 15, top 10 at tracks like this, so 29th, really strange that this team didn't have this pace like they did, I think, in the spring. I think they had decent pace in the spring, not 28th and 29th and 27th. John Hunter Nemechek, he was included in, I think he was included in the Justin Haley wreck. So 30th for him. Kaz Gralla 31st. Carson Hocevar, Yeah, he got spun out. He was having a solid day as well until he got spun out, but that's a shame. Justin Haley, 33rd. That's a very, very bizarre story that I want to talk about. Austin Cindric, 34th. Ended up getting spun out on the back straightaway, I think during the second stage. That ended up ruining his entire race. Eric Jones, 35th. Jimmy Johnson, 36th. Yep, that team, Legacy Motor Club, is a dumpster fire right now. JJ Yaley, 37th. And Josh Berry in dead last after wrecking out on the first lap. Not even really wrecking out. I heard that only his tires were down and they didn't tow him back to the pit stall, but they took him to the infield, I think. And he wasn't allowed to continue after that, and they were mad about that. But the Justin Haley incident earlier in the race was very, very bizarre. I don't know if anybody in the chat saw it. I think most of the people here, if you are watching, you probably ended up seeing the race, or if you're new to NASCAR, welcome. But Justin Haley ended up on the, I want to say, midway through stage 2. He ended up, I don't know exactly what happened, but all of a sudden, his car hooked really hard to the left and got into the 42 of John Hunter Nemechek. I didn't see anything really wrong with the car for it to just dart out like that. It didn't seem like it was a flat tire or anything like that. I don't think it could have been really anything that broke, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for a car to veer that hard to the left when it's going perfectly straight. Now, it could have been, I'm just saying, that he was told by his spotter that he was clear and that he could jump down to the bottom. That's why he turned that hard, because at tracks like Kansas, track position is really, really important. So it's possible that his spotter gave him the wrong cue, or his spotter accidentally gave him the wrong information and that he wasn't clear, and that's why instead he darted to the left because he thought he was clear and trying to block the 42. But I don't know. I have a feeling we're going to see some telemetry from that accident, because telemetry is always posted nowadays. So we're going to have to see. I want to wait and see if it was anything that severe where his car just broke, or if he made the steering angle, or if he made if he steered to the left because he thought he was clear, or what exactly happened. But that was a very bizarre incident during the race. I want to say this week's big loser, I have to say, is definitely Tyler Reddick, because Reddick had a very, very solid car all day. I feel like he was running up in the top 10, top 5 the entire day, and everything fell apart, and now he's, I think, 2 out from the next round. It's just crazy. He was up towards the top, I think the 3rd overall seed entering this race, and Kansas is one of his best tracks, so it doesn't really make sense for this team to be that bad, considering they won the race last year and was running, I think they had the 2nd best car last year, only behind Hamlin, but they ended up winning the race because of a late race caution. But I think Reddick was the biggest loser. If you're wondering why I didn't pick Larson right here, it's because Larson, he had the points buffer to cushion his loss in points today. He started 11th and only lost 15 spots. Reddick started 4th and lost 21 spots, which is huge considering how tight and competitive these playoffs are, honestly. But Chastain spoiling all the playoff fun. Let's look at the drivers' standings right now, the playoff standings. So Byron is currently the overall points leader, if you want to call it that. 34 above the cutoff line. He should be feeling pretty good entering Talladega. I'd say it's not a guaranteed one race cushion, but anything can happen at Talladega for that to go away. Blaney is 2nd. Talladega is one of his better tracks. He is an incredible super speedway racer, so don't count him out of getting some points next week. A solid finish, maybe even a win. Christopher Bell 28 points above. Larson 18 points above. Hamlin 11 points above. Those guys, I'd say there's some worry in them, because especially Larson, considering how bad he is at super speedways, how bad his luck is. Hamlin is, I think, a good super speedway racer when he's not doing what he did at Atlanta, staying in the back all day. Get some points, get a solid finish, or just make it to the end, and you're probably going to be all right. Bowman 8 points above. Logano and Elliott are tied at 4 points each above the cutoff line. I would not feel at all safe. Stage points are going to matter so much next weekend at Talladega. It's going to be make or break for some of these guys. And then after that's the Roval, which is an even bigger toss-up, honestly. But Bowman, Elliott, Logano are the three that I think have to earn stage points. It's a must for them. So I think everyone should strive to get some stage points next week. But those guys need the buffer to increase. Ideally, any of these guys could end up winning the race. Maybe except Larson, because he's got that bad luck. Below the bubble right now, Reddick, Suarez, Briscoe, and Cindric. Reddick is 4 below. Considering he won in the spring at Talladega, I say he's probably... I could see him getting some stage points next week. He's definitely going to be in contention for that win. Suarez as well is going to be in contention. And all of these guys are going to be in contention. All of them are pretty good super speedway racers. So they're all going to be aggressive. They're all going to try and get up towards the front. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next week. Cindric. Cindric is the one to keep your eye on next week. Remember at Atlanta, I think he won a stage, got a ton of points, ended up having an issue, but still finished 8th. I can see him doing something very similar like that this upcoming or next week at Talladega, honestly. Don't count out that driver, the number 2, to win a stage, possibly both of the stages, and get like a top 5 finish at the end. While everyone else, his competitors like Larson, Hamlin, Logano, Byron, guys like that, if they wreck, the Cindric might jump up a ton of positions and then they head to the Roval. Cindric is a pretty good road course racer. I feel like we're starting to see that road course ability of Cindric starting to come back a little bit. So do not count out that number 2 to make it out of this round. We could see potentially a couple of shockers here depending on how Dega and the Roval go. I could see even Briscoe can make it out. A win changes everything here. And it's possible that we might have another non-playoff guy win like Chastain or Truex, Busch, or someone like that. Or Busch. But you never know what could happen. Any of these guys can end up winning and flipping the playoff grid on its head once again. Just like how it was in the... Oh wait, I just realized actually, this isn't even updated. This hasn't been updated for Kansas yet. So it's even closer than this, actually. Interesting. I don't know if this is... I think this is updated because I know Reddick wasn't on the outside looking in after Bristol. He's like the 3rd seed overall, and Larson was the top seed. So I think this has been updated. They just didn't update the naming up here on the top right, but going to be interesting. Definitely going to be a must-see event. I probably won't end up being able to watch most of it, though. I'm doing something next week. Owner standings, for those who are interested. Larson is the overall owner's point leader still. The 20 of Christopher Bell in second. 45 of Reddick. We got all these names still in this contention for owner's points. I think it's overall points leader. The 5, I think, would still be the overall owner point. I think even if we had driver's points, the 5 is the leader. 22nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and so on and so forth. But absolutely crazy how anyone can still change everything in an instant here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, yeah. Here's the playoff guys that are still racing for it. If 8th place is Logano, this is the cutoff line right here. So the Cindric is 4 below the owner point advancement to the round of 8. Okay. Manufacturer, Chevy leads overall by 35 points over Ford and 35 points over Toyota, so it is a tie. Chevy has the most wins. Ford, after being winless for most of the season, is now up to 9 wins, and Toyota is up to 8. One more thing. Let's look at driver standings. Larson is the overall points leader, but it doesn't matter because points don't determine a champion. Unfortunately, at the end of the season, consistency doesn't really matter. So, anything really different here? this isn't accurate to the playoff leaderboard. Byron's ends up at the top. Let's look at Xfinity now for the playoff cut line. Cole Custer is still the top seed because of Eric Almirola's win on Saturday. He's not eligible for the playoffs. Custer, 41 points above. That is still a very solid amount. That's almost a race, basically, excluding stage points. But Chandler Smith in second, 36 above. Austin Hill, 26 above. I'd say from right here down, these are the guys that have to be worrying at Talladega. I mean, all of them have to worry, but there's some cushion here, and here for Custer, Smith, and Hill, Austin Hill's a great super speedway racer, but 13 points, 10 points, 8 points, 3 points, and 1 point entering into Talladega of all tracks is very, very worrying. Allgaier, after his, he ended up wrecking on the backstretch, I think in stage 2, I want to say. Allmendinger, Kligerman, and Smith. Allmendinger and Kligerman are very good super speedway racers, so expect them to go after and be really aggressive for stage points. But Allgaier, I think he could possibly get a solid finish as long as he doesn't wreck. Sammy Smith is, I want to say, he's not must win, but I'm going to say he's must win, honestly. Because the Roval is not going to be well suited for him. I don't think at all. Maybe he is a good road racer. I don't know. But stage points is going to be the name of the game for the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. Owner's points, the 20. That 20 car is the overall owner's point leader so far. Custer second, third Chandler Smith, fourth is Austin Hill, and fifth is the number 1 of Sam Mayer. That's right. You can see all the names down here that are in the owner's points battle right now. Where's the 97? Colleague Ray. Okay, 7th. So Shane is 7th in owner's points total. All right. Craftsman Truck Series. After this, I'll probably end the stream, or I'll probably show the results for Xfinity and trucks after as well. Corey Heim, overall points leader, 38 above. That is absolutely crazy. Entering Talladega. Eckes 29, Majeski 14, and Nick Sanchez is 8 above. Below is Raja, Tyler Ankrum, Grant Enfinger, and Taylor Gray. These two are already eliminated. I don't know why they're still listed, but once again, Talladega, anything can happen. If I had to pick someone that could go out there, out of these 8, the one that I would keep my eye on is someone like Raja Karuth. Honestly, he was running up front during the Daytona race. Also, Nick Sanchez was up there in the Daytona race. He ended up winning, but anybody can win those dumpster fires of races in the Truck Series. Owner's points, the number 11 Tricon is number 11 car, or truck technically, of Corey Heim is the overall owner's points leader by only 9 points over the number 19 McAnally Hilgman Racing entry, but it is just going to be very, very chaotic, honestly. Let me go to the results real quick, and then I'll end the stream. Results for Xfinity. Eric Almirola took the W in the number 20 car. He is running part-time for the rest of the season now. He will be taking over for the rest of the races. Cole Custer in that beautiful NXT car, WWE NXT car, finished second. Really a bummer to see him end up losing that race in the final 3 laps. Chandler Smith third. Connor Zilish, the 18-year-old, finishes in 4th place, and Sheldon Creed with a 5th place finish. Solid day for the Connor. Eric Almirola drove from the back to the front, I think, like 2 times. Crazy how fast that 20 car was at the end. But scroll down so you can see some of the finishes here. Shane Van Gisbergen in 8th place. What a great job he did great job by that team after the horrible run they had the entire day. He's got some other cars. Sammy Smith 22nd. I think he's a must win, honestly. Justin Allgaier ended up wrecking out. He didn't really have a chance at all. Anyway, he wasn't running up front as much as he should have been, honestly. That car was not well suited at all for his liking. Daniel Dye 34th. I think he had an issue. But yeah, it's just entering Talladega, I would be really scared to have a bad run at Kansas and then head to Talladega knowing that anything can really happen. Craftsman Truck Series, Corey Heim ended up winning the race. There we go. Corey Heim ended up winning the race after Ty Majeski ran out of fuel on the final lap. The saddest thing I've ever seen. One of the saddest defeats I've ever seen. He started 33rd, finished first. I think he did last to first. Nope. Almost last to first. He started on the final row. So, Lane Riggs, he went back-to-back. He won back-to-back races and then gets a second place finish. That team is definitely on the right track. Good to see for them. Christian Eckes in third. Caden Honeycutt, fourth place. Another very impressive running. Or another very impressive run from him. And Dawson Sutton with a fifth place finish after replacing Ty Dillon. I know it was fuel strategy, or it was a different strategy play, but still, that's pretty good. That's a pretty great finish for that team. Tanner Gray 6th, Rajah Caruth 7th, Bailey Curry 8th, Grant Enfinger 9th, and Connor Mosack in 10th place. Well, that has covered basically everything this weekend in the NASCAR Cup Series. Now, next up is Talladega. A absolute mess that's probably going to end up being. I'd say if you wanted to pick someone to go for Talladega, you have the usuals like Ricky. I mean, there's certain guys that are always mentioned as being great super speedway racers, but I would probably want to go this weekend with. I'm gonna go with Alex Bowman. I got a feeling Bowman's gonna have a great run at Talladega. He's been basically incident free this entire playoff run so far. He's one of the only drivers to be. I think he's the only driver to not have a single incident happen to him this entire playoff run, but got a feeling he's going to be pretty solid at Talladega, get a lot of stage points, maybe be up there late in the running to win, and maybe, just maybe, make it to the round of 8. So, I want to thank you all so much for watching this stream, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.